folks, one of the Redneck Country Podcast. You are on with Real Redneck Todd Millard, and of course, we've got the almost guy, Real Redneck Bill. Tom Bill, are you there?
I'm here, and it's a beautiful night for a podcast.
It is a beautiful night for a podcast.
Kind of.
Well, it rained earlier, and so
just started here right now. I can
is
hear
it
it in
really?
the background.
Oh, we had it pretty good, but it's calmed down now enough that yes, sitting beside me, my father, the Patriarch of Redneck Country, Real Redneck Don Millard, walked over to do it, and if it was that bad, he wouldn't have walked. And
Wrong.
Oh, did you drive over?
No.
Well, then what? What are you saying?
Your mother dropped me off. We got an invite out for supper at 6 o'clock. And
oh, good grief.
So I said, well, I would like to visit a little longer. I would have had to leave there right at 7, which is only an hour. So I stayed and visited a little bit after supper, and then she dropped me off. But I'm going to walk home because it's not raining at the moment. But it's getting colder.
And if it was raining, you're not sugar and you won't melt. So.
That's right. Yeah, water don't bother me. I just hope I'm warm enough if it's
That's apparent from Saturday. And, folks, his mic is hot.
Good deal.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I got my mom in the house tonight. She's here. I asked her if she wanted to come on and tell the story about her deer that she shot 2 years ago.
Yeah, Mama Tom.
And her eyeballs got about as big as saucers. It was like, nope, that was 2 years ago. I'm like, that stories don't go away from 2 years ago.
Exactly.
So what I got out of that was not tonight, but she may, if given enough advance notice.
We don't like to plan. Story. We'll just call her next Thursday.
You're talking to the wrong person if you don't think that she plans everything. Everything.
I had to assume that you're a chip off the old mom block.
That's where it comes from.
She likes tea too, doesn't she?
Yeah. She
How's her knitting?
The odd cup of tea. She doesn't knit.
Really? Where'd you get that from then?
No, but you know what she doesn't have? She doesn't have guy lights in her hair. Guy lights. I got talking to Candace.
How long have you been holding that one back?
Actually, 15 minutes. Candace, we were talking about, because Candace went to get her nails done today because we're going on a little mini vacation, and she says to me, you should go get the sports version of this with a pedicure and hand massage. And I said, you are talking to the wrong end of this podcast if you want something like that. I am not the one that has the highlights. And what my wife says, Todd says they're not highlights, they're guy lights.
They are. They're guy lights. They're not highlights. They're guy lights.
So that's spot on. I haven't been holding that one for long. I couldn't hold that one for long.
But they're manly because they're guy lights.
So when you got your last sports pedicure thing, how was that?
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, right.
That's no joke. I'm proud to say that.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I didn't know they had a sports one. Is that so they can cater to the dudes? So it's like Apparently. They try to tempt you to get you in there. It's like, it's a sports one. Oh, sports. Oh, I'm there. I'm there. Oh, what are you doing to my nails? Wait, look at my hand. Quit looking at my eyes.
Like I said, wrong end of the podcast for that. So this is the almost guy, not Jersey Shore's guy. So.
Oh, wow.
Hang on to that, Bill. Hang on to that.
GTH, buddy. Jim Tan Hunt.
Yeah, that's you can put that in your next t-shirt.
It's usually HTG, Hunt Tan Jim.
There you go.
It's getting tea weather. I was going to have a cup of tea tonight, but my podcast mug is in the washing machine.
Surrender me.
Dishwasher. So
I got my cup of tea here.
Yeah,
I'll bring you down one next time.
There you go.
Nice cup of tea with a little bit of honey in there. You know, it is that weather now, but it is such that weather that next week, I don't know when this podcast is going to air, but for me, next week, we leave. The week today, one more day.
A week tomorrow.
Week tomorrow, I'll be
You're heading to Hunt Camp.
Get ready to go to Hunt Camp for a week.
Your brother's going to have you see a trailer full of apples being pulled down behind a big what is that thing? What's he drive? F-250?
I don't know. It's something big. That's for sure.
It's a heavy duty truck. But you see that going down the 401. Stay out of its way. It's got a shipment of apples to drop off under a tree stand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Time of year again. 2 days ago, the hot rod went into storage.
Oh, it did, eh?
Oh man, I hate to put that away, but it's away. It's in the storage now.
Well,
till next.
There's only so much time left, and I tell you, we got talking about this before the podcast. We're all busy, and every day is there's something going on. And I had to, even last night. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead on what we did here this week, but we'll just roll with it, I guess. Eh?
Yeah, why not?
We last night I was trying to do the planning ahead. Shocked and stunned, but I had to get all my hunting stuff ready for next weekend last night because I just don't have enough time. Oh yeah, I have to. I had my list. I printed off with all my 2021 hunt list items with my clothes, number of things I'm taking. I know you hunt out of your house, so your wife's got it all figured out for you, Todd.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, so he's running around in the morning that I come to pick him up, and Jen, where's this? Where's that?
Oh, give me a break! It's like 4:30 in the morning. You think Jen's getting up for that? You're on crack.
He's got her awake because he has to have a shower first. He has to put on.
And I have my own bathroom downstairs.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Wow, this is
telling stories out of school now.
Yeah.
So that list, I had to go through all that stuff and get it kind of separated. And make sure I have
Don't you feel over prepared at that? And then you're like, I'm forgetting something because now I'm too prepared.
He's yelling right now that he's too busy, can't do anything. And I'm telling him right now, we only got a week. He's got to find a place for the goose trailer because we got to back in there with the truck. And he's got to clean the garage.
Get beside the goose
so we
trailer.
Can drive in and hang the deer. And right now, you can't get past the door, even walking.
Can you get in? Yeah, you can't even get in his garage, can you?
Well, you can now. We got the whole side cleaned out.
It's going to be more than that.
Yeah, well, I put the kayak over with the trailer, so I can go over to there and grab it when I need to. It's in where Dad's car is stored.
His camper trailer, not the goose trailer.
So the goose trailer, fine. You can get beside it. You back in beside it. We do it every year.
Are you gonna leave
but your garage, Todd, you're telling me right now from when we were down there goose hunting, you can actually get and move in that garage?
Yes, on the left side. Absolutely. It's only the right side where the golf cart is, and I got a giant screen printing press.
It's got to be cleaned more.
Which is for sale, by the way, if anybody would like a 4-color 4-station screen printing press.
Yeah, but right now where the deer hang, you can't get under the hooks.
No doubt in my mind. Yeah. I bet you guys better have a light year hunting because if you get any more than one small deer, you're not putting them anywhere.
It's this way every year at this time.
Not surprised. You're not telling me anything I don't already know.
That's the truth.
You're giving me that information for free.
And every year, are we able to hang deer? So I don't know why you fret because it's always ready to rock when it needs to be ready to rock.
You know, Bill, I mean,
usually Scotty's a catalyst. He'll shoot one a week early with the bow, and then we got to...
You made a career out of being the almost guy, and we laugh about it, and it's fun. Todd is the never ready guy. I
want to know how we got here, because I'm the guy that makes fun of y'all. And now, what are we, 95 episodes in? How did this get flipped around?
You make fun of us, and you carry on, so we can't say anything, so the real truth doesn't come out. But the real truth, you're the never ready guy.
I think you know how
the sitcoms, never ready guy. They make batteries about that, don't they? That's the ever ready, but it's the opposite. You can have a T-shirt with that, and that battery won't have any charge in it, and then it's the never ready guy.
Never ready.
That's the Todd's logo now.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
he just keeps on procrastinating.
It's called procrastinating. There, Sleepy Joe.
Procrastinating.
Anyway. So, you know how sitcoms kind of spin
he
off?
He even knows the word. He's a pro. Procrastinator.
That's right. If you're going to do something, you go all in.
Do it well.
So sitcoms do spin-offs. I think it might be time. So, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody would like to be on the Redneck Country Podcast, we have 2 seats to replace. Reach out to podcast@theredneckcountry.com. I will entertain your emails.
And we'll give up our seats gladly. You have no idea of our pain. So come and experience it.
Yet you still do the walk.
I do the walk because I need to walk. Gives me an excuse to walk.
All right.
So that was So I got all my my hunting stuff ready, and I'm quite anxious because that list now. Actually, you know what? I feel better that because this weekend I'm out of town.
It's like a weight off your shoulders. I get it, Bill. I understand.
Being prepared, I know that is second nature. We just went over that, but at the end of it, I feel good about having stuff kind of pseudo ready. I got to put the clothes in the wash machine and Candace has got to do some shopping for food. But other than that, I think I'm pretty close to ready to go hunt. I even took the guns out of the gun locker that were cleaned from last year, Todd. And
I got a story for you on that one.
Oh, geez.
So from that side of things, but what I'd like to have right now, if we could, is just a moment of silence. Because
where are we going with this?
He can't be silent.
Do we have to be serious? Like, yeah, kill that mixer right there. Channel 1.
What happened was I sent you the most devastating news this week.
Oh,
any deer hunter could possibly have. My target buck. When I say my target buck, the target buck.
Pretty selfish of you. You need to listen to last week's episode.
Yeah. Deflated all the way through. I had a nice buck on camera, and I sent that picture to you, Don. I didn't. I sent it to Todd, and he showed you last week.
No, I haven't shown him yet. Because you just said this just happened, right?
Well, you showed me a video of one last week.
Yeah. Well, the video that showed you.
Yeah, that deer I showed you a video of, the Alliance was pretty stoked and excited about the fact that it was close to our property and had it on video, real close to where my brother was set up, real close to where my dad was set up. And it was a hope. So yesterday or the day before, I got a text message from my dad. And that picture that you're looking at right now, maybe, is my big ticket there that was taken with the crossbow, legally, obviously, in the neighboring property.
He made a good shot.
I had my hand. Yeah, he did. They're good hunters. And that moment of silence is for the almost guy not having an opportunity, or anybody in the Alliance for that matter, at that.
I'll tell you what. And you sent me that, and I was trying to be positive and tell you that where that guy was, there's going to be 5 more just as big that you just haven't seen yet.
I believe that. There's going to be something.
Those genetics are there. And so anybody listening, I should put it up on the Facebook page if I can. I don't know. You get permission from that hunter gentleman so that people can see what you're missing. But I bet you it's a 155, 160. We don't go by inches here at Redneck Country. It's a 10 points.
No, I think.
Is it 11?
It's either 12.
Oh, I missed some?
Yeah.
So it's a brute, man. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
He's really good size.
Beams.
Yeah, like the guy's hand is holding the beams, and they don't go all the way. His fingers does not touch his palms.
You know, some pictures, people will extend their arms and make the deer look big or the fish look bigger. I think that's legit giant. So that's a
he might be pushing 165, to be honest with you. Like he's a big he's a big. Not that we don't do inches here.
No, we don't. But just to give a point of reference to somebody, I mean, if it's 12 points. And they're not spindly 12s. It's a beauty.
His fingers are not touching his palms where he's holding the rack on both sides.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. So it's a bruiser. But there's got to be more there, Bill. I wouldn't be that distraught about it. I'd be, and hey, you got to be happy for him. And I know you are.
Yeah. I don't know him, but I'm happy for him anyways.
Yeah, I could put myself in his shoes and still be ticked off that he shot it, but listen to last week's podcast.
Yeah, well, it just means that I don't have to wait for that guy to show up anymore.
See, and this is where if we did the live video when we do our podcast, we could actually show that, throw it up on the screen. We might get there someday, but I don't know. I like just having the audio. Video killed the radio star.
Well, I got a perfect face for radio, so it's all good.
Well said. So, moment of silence. All right, on to the next one, Bill, because that one don't matter. He's out. There's got to be more.
Yeah.
No, like you, Bill, I've been getting ready too, and trying to make a list and get everything together. And today I bought 4 canisters for the buddy heater. My son-in-law is going to lend me his for the week in case we need it. So,
hey, Jen, can you write on the list? I need propane little things for the heater.
They're on sale.
You don't have a list. Give me a break.
We have a list. Jen, is there not a list?
For what?
Yeah.
For hunting. Next week.
You don't list anything. You run around like rabbit squirrel in the forest.
Okay, you're not helping my cause.
Did you hear that?
You're not helping my cause.
Did you hear what she said?
Yeah, running around.
The night before, like a rabid squirrel. Jan, where's my this? Where's my that? Yeah, I know.
Okay, let's start a list.
Well, they're on sale right now, 2 for $12.
Hey?
Huh? The Royal We. Can we start a list? Propane tanks.
And in fact, I even, Rick, my son-in-law, he got a new muzzleloader, and I took him to
Really?
the gun club this week, and he sighted it in. So,
Well, we did that. We had Bill, Dad's buddy Bill. He just
this
bought
was
a new
separate
muzzleloader.
time, yep.
And then Michael, Scotty's nephew, he just bought a new muzzleloader. And so we went last night and sighted our guns in. That's why I said I got a story for you about my gun.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
But
Bill says, "Why am I surprised?"
he didn't say that to me.
He said it to me.
Anyway, we get there. We got to go to the 25-yard bench because they're shooting trap, and people are like, "Why do you bring your trap gun?" Yeah, we're not going to get time.
Let me tell you this, though.
So Dad's like, "Well, did you bring your trap gun? We might get time." Oh my gosh, really? We're getting there at 4. We're leaving at 4 o'clock. 4:30. We're not going to get there till like 4:45.
Let me tell you why I thought
time?
this. Let me tell you why I thought this. Because Todd's been shooting his gun for I don't know how many years. Typically, you shoot it a couple times. Yep, I'm still there. That's fine. That's the way mine was. Rick's was new. It took about 10 shots. But he put the scope on himself.
Shots.
He never had a bore sighted. He put the scope on himself. So it took about 10 shots to dial it in. Now, Bill, his brand new gun was factory mounted. I'm assuming it was bore sighted because 4 shots, he never touched a thing. He had a grouping in 25 yards. He moved to the 50. He was right on. That was it.
He's done. He didn't even shoot at 100. He's like, I can't even see 100. I'm good at 50.
Where we are, we're not going to get 100-yard shots. But it's right on. And so that was it. That was over with. It went really well. Now, Michael's, it took a little more. It took a few more
Bill's
shots.
running that brand new Traditions that take the fire sticks.
Yeah, that's right too. It's different.
Yeah,
pretty slick.
He never made an adjustment. And Bill was having trouble with a scope last year. He's never hunted with a rifle, never hunted with a scope. And he's right on, man. And he was grinning ear to ear. He says, "Oh, man, I got confidence now."
Yeah. So my gun, I got it out. And Dad, I said to Dad before we left, I texted him, "Have you got patches? Because I don't have any." Cleaning patches, for those that don't know. Between shots, you got to run a cleaning patch down the barrel because it's black powder. It's old school. Pour the powder in and put the barrel down, and it gets fouled up one shot. So Dad says, "Yep, got patches." Okay, great. We're good to go. I grabbed my kit, which was already together, Bill. It was on my list. And grabbed my gun.
Yeah.
Put it in a case. Away we go.
And I said, "You got primers?" "I don't know." He says, "Let's see." "Oh, there's none there." "Oh, in this case, nope, there's none there."
Well, hold the phone.
"Let's see. Where will I look?"
I don't. So
and he
at
ran back in and found a half a box of primers.
No, you're wrong.
Good.
You're wrong.
Where'd you go?
They were in my kit. I ran back in and grabbed more when I found out you guys didn't have primers.
We had 2 rows.
That's it. He says, "I don't have any primers. You got primers?"
But,
I texted you about the patches. You couldn't have texted earlier, so you just found out you didn't have primers. If you want to go there, I'm just saying.
I was afraid that 40 bullets and a half a box of primers was not enough for Todd.
Anyway, I like to be accurate, and black powder's not always. So we get there. And Dad, I said, "Okay, cut me a couple patches because I want to run some cleaner through this thing before I pound a bullet in there, and then we'll blow the rust out of her." And so he cuts me. So I last year had the patches you buy, right? They're little squares already cut in a bag. He's got a friggin' towels, old tea towels and crap that he's cutting with scissors, patches out. So he cuts a patch, hands it to me, puts it on my barrel. So put it down. Well, it goes in. It ain't coming out. It's in. Now I've got this giant brass cleaning rod with a patch on the end all the way down my barrel, and it ain't coming out. And so Dad's got a hold of it. Trick? What's that?
No, you don't know the trick.
Oh, you tell me the trick because we were all working on her.
Are you kidding me?
What's the trick?
The solvent that you use for me, I use Thompson's cleaning products, and part of that, it comes with a blue patch. There's a dry patch and a wet patch, and that wet patch, when you put it down there, if it's not wet, if you put the dry patch down, and if it's not wet enough, it will get stuck. So you need to put a little bit. Oh no, dude!
This patch was saturated. There. No. This patch was saturated. I smashed it with because I got this. I don't know what it is. I think it's made by CVA. We squirted it. Okay. It's solvent, right? Powder dissolver, whatever. So I put the patch down on the table and I saturate it. Put the patch over the open barrel and jam it down and run it through.
But the other side of it, when in the breech plug side, I sometimes will spray. Like there's a foam type stuff that
I do that at the end of the season.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yep. I
So
put
you
the
got
foam in.
this stuck.
So the patch goes in, it's stuck. So now Dad's pulling on the ramrod. I'm holding the gun. Dad's holding the gun. I'm pulling on the ram. Now it's Dad, me, and Bill. We can't get this thing out. So then they're like, well, just take your breech plug out. You know, the last time I had my breech plug out?
Are you kidding me? I don't even store that in my gun
So
when I
here's
put
the
it away
dumbest
for the
thing.
off-season.
Oh, that's a smart play. Here's the dumbest thing on the planet. We're going to put finger knurls on a black powder breech plug. Black powder, the most corrosive thing known to man on the planet. And we're going to do a finger knurls, like you're going to turn this breech plug out with your freaking fingers. Come on. Not going to happen. So the breech plug's stuck in there. So now we're screwed. I can't do nothing. So the gun club's got a pretty decent workshop. So away I go. So I get in there and I got to give a big shout out to Kyle, president of our gun club at Oxford Sportsman Club. So he comes in, he's like, how you make it out? And I'm like, dude, I have locked that thing in a vise, the ramrod, and been pulling. I can't get it. I said, so now I'm trying to find a tool that I can get around my breech plug so I can get that breech plug out of there. So he knows where all the tools are. He's in there. He's like, we got to take your scope off. And he's like, do you really want to do that? And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I could take this gun home, figure it out, and bring it back. And he's like, but really? You're sighting it in. I'm like, yeah, but it's sighted in. I just really a couple shots and I'm done. So if we get the breech plug out without taking my scope off, I'm a happy camper. It's like, well, let's just mark it. And I'm like, all right, we'll mark it. So we mark where the scope was, take the scope off. We get the breech plug out. Well, then Kyle's never had a black powder gun, never shot it. So we're used to dealing in high-end shotguns, right? Like $10,000, $15,000 shotguns that are very well kept, very nice. And so he's looking at this thing going, dude, look at the rust. Well, yeah, it's black powder. It's the most corrosive thing. And this gun's not new, my man. I've had this gun for years. It shoots where I want, and I'm happy with it. That's all that matters. And while he was,
my heart.
While he was taking the breech plug out, he's got like big grips, right? Like I don't even know how to know what you call them. They're like a plumber's wrench. And he's like, I'm gonna mark the knurls. I'm like, I don't care. No, Todd, we can't mark the knurl. I'm like, dude, they're knurls. Like that breech plug, I don't care. And he's like, Todd, we can't mark the buddy. Lock them on there.
Drill a hole through it, put a rod in it, and put a big pole on it. Get the thing out of there.
That's what I'm thinking. Let's drill clean through it so I can put a rod in there and turn it like a giant wheel. I'm happy with that. And he's going, we can't mark it. And I'm like, Kyle, I'm 100% do not care. Put those freaking vice grips on there and give that sucker a crank. And he's like, oh my gosh, Todd, I can't do it to somebody else's gun. I'm like, Kyle, I'm holding the gun. Do it. So he puts them on. We get it out. Well, then he's like, look it. So he's over there. He's meticulously cleaning this thing. I'm like, dude, I'm going to take one shot and it's going to be so black. It's absolutely insane. Don't worry about it. He's like, no, like this is crazy. And I'm like, just give me the gun back. So I get my scope back on it, put the plug back in. I put the scope back where we thought it was go down. You know what? I was right on. We were all good. So I thought I better take a 25-yard shot. Good. Take a 50-yard shot. Did a couple clicks because I'm that meticulous. Dad would have left it. I'm like an inch right and an inch high. So do a couple clicks. Go back to 100. I'm in there. Bob's your uncle. Have a good day.
And by that time, it's dark.
I cannot believe you. I'm speechless right now. What I'm hearing about the maintenance that you have, whether it's a black powder rifle or not, my black powder rifle, Thompson Center Encore 50 cal, is the same looking as it was the day I bought it.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding you. Season after season, I use it.
There's no rust on the end of the barrel. You don't have like the finish chipping off. Like mine's full camo, right? So at the end, it's like coming off where the ports are. It's all ported and fluted. And
I have a breech plug with knurls on it. And I tell you what, I can turn it by fingers. I take my fingers and take that breech plug out. I use breech plug grease on it. In between rounds, if I shoot at to sight it in. Obviously, you put your wet patch to dry patches until nothing comes out. Then, you take care of it. You take care of it. There is no rust on that gun whatsoever.
When I put mine away, I oil it and do not put the breech plug in tight. And so
I don't even leave the breech plug in it while I store it. I take the breech plug out.
And
I
then
put
you
the
won't
breech plug
find the
lube
breech
on
plug
it,
when it's time to go.
and it's
shoot
in
it.
a Ziploc bag in the gun case right next to the barrel
running around
of
like
the gun.
You're running around like a squirrel with its head cut off, looking for the breech plug when it's time
If
to go.
that's the
Todd did
case,
that
I'm
the
looking for
first-
the whole gun.
If Todd
Unbelievable.
did that, the first question is, now, where's the gun case?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
My son-in-law uses no-seas. He puts
Yeah.
no-seas on it, and then he's still got the finger turned.
Yeah, whatever.
I got that
Anyway,
for my choke tube.
We're sighted in. We're ready to rock.
So, yeah, we're good.
So
to go now.
I don't even understand, though. Like, how does your breech plug the hole that the primer, when the firing pin hits the primer or the hammer hits the primer and it has to go through that little wee tiny hole in the breech plug, how is that so clogged that it doesn't even fire?
It's not. It fired.
Okay.
You just make sure
How do you
because
clean
this is
that hole,
solvent.
Bill? That's a good point. I clean mine with a darning needle.
Yeah,
How
I
do
have
you-
either
I don't even know what a darning needle is.
How do you
toothpick,
clean
and I
it?
actually have a little pipe cleaner. They're a breech plug.
Why am I not surprised the two tea drinkers talking needles?
It's a toothpick. I know that you don't have teeth. Like if you're right on next to wooden teeth, is
Darn
how
dear.
you're going.
You ain't lying.
But I either use a toothpick or I have if I have them with me. It's like a breech plug. They're
It's like a little needle.
pipe cleaner,
Like Dad
pipe
says.
cleaner type thing.
Like a pipe cleaner.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I take care of that. I have a kit that all my cleaning supplies are in, and that's my muzzle loader.
Ain't nobody
kit.
got time for that.
Apparently.
But
Apparently.
I've even got the shower body wash, dead downwind, and I've even got the clothes.
I got all that. We were in Walmart last week. I got it all.
Yep, we're all set to go. And the spray, when you're out there and get out of the car in the morning, and the fox pee for my boots, I'm all set to go.
Fox pee. A lot of people don't know about that. Let me break that down.
Oh, that's
Fox.
awesome stuff.
Deer will follow fox because fox are very smart. So Dad puts
aware.
fox pee on his boots.
And pant legs.
And then as he walks in, it brushes on the weeds and stuff. And he has had deer walk right up to him.
Yep. And fox walk up to me, too.
Well, yeah, I've had it on mine. I had a fox come in and I got lost in the morning, couldn't find my stand. Like within 20 yards, I'm doing circles till I find the tree that it's on, bigger to smaller. And then I get up in the stand and at first light, I got a fox walking the spiral 20-yard circle that I did and comes right up and puts his paws on the ladder.
When I first started using this stuff, it was 40 years ago. And I was on the ground. I never had a tree stand or anything. And when it got light, I had a fox sitting 5 feet out from my boots. He was just sitting there. I got light, and I thought, what is that? Is that a tree stump or something? And when I got light, I thought, that's an animal. It's a fox. He's sitting there looking at me, just off the end of my boots.
I've had one. We're sitting there doing a drive, and my brother-in-law was coming through, just a little mini drive, and my dad was down a ways. I'm standing on the edge of a creek, leaning against the bank, and I see movement behind me. And I'm thinking, holy geez, there's something behind me. I've got to go really slow. And just out of the corner of my eye. So I start to move really slow. And as I do, I can see down. It's right down at my boots is where the movement was. I didn't know where it came from. I just knew out of the corner of my eye, I seen movement. And I got a fox stretched right out, sniffing my boot. And I turned around and looked down, and it freaked me out because, holy crap, there's a fox going to bite my ankle. But really, he was just sniffing. And I stomped my foot, and then he took off. But yeah, the fox will come right in. But the deer then will follow the fox because the fox is a lot more wary, right? They stay out of danger.
They feel safe if they're following a fox. But the thing is, it hides your scent. That's the main thing. It's the strongest thing I know to hide your scent when you're walking back and forth to your stand. In fact, you can even buy deer drags. Some of them have straps. They strap on your boot with a pad on the bottom so that you soak it when fox pee, and then every time you take a step, it's squeezing fox pee on the ground. And then they have what you call a deer drag.
And they sell those for
behind you.
Doe urine, like estrus and stuff too, right? But
I use fox.
But fox pee, man, it works.
Yeah,
not gonna lie to you.
And it makes the deer unwary.
And a lot of people don't today. Like that was 30, 40 years ago. It was pretty common.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I've never tried. I've never tried fox. I thought fox. I mean, I guess fox isn't a predator.
No,
compared
not
to
the deer, not like coyotes
or something like that.
Nope.
Like, and if it, I've heard of people doing, like a turkey decoy in the field as a confidence. So it comes to mind that you don't necessarily need to have a deer, something to have confidence in that deer from coming into your area. And if fox pee is it, I've never tried that, and I may give that a try this year.
Yeah, there you go. Words of wisdom from the Patriarch.
This is why we do this, so that we can learn from our elders. I'm not saying you're old, Don. I'm just.
Oh, I am. Anyway,
well, there you go. So
we're still goose hunting too. We're not. We're getting ready to be, but we're still goose hunting. As late as last week, last Saturday we were on a goose hunt.
How'd it go?
How did your goose turn out? You cooked. You were going to share that with us.
Oh,
yeah. We'll get to the goose hunt in a minute because, folks, you don't want to not hear this. Trust me. Trust me.
Oh, Todd,
there is one monumental thing that has happened, never happened before in my life. You're going to want to hear it. Okay, sorry, go, Bill.
So we tried the Todd Millard recipe of just put stuff in a bag and make it work.
Was Todd right again?
No, because I changed your recipe and I made the adjustments to a right ratio of the ingredients, and it turned out absolutely phenomenal. So the recipe that Todd put out there was balsamic vinegar. I think we've gone over this a couple of times, but the balsamic vinegar, the extra virgin olive oil, soy sauce, at a ratio of 1 to 1. But that's not what I did. The oil was more, and then the balsamic vinegar and the soy sauce, I put half as much per ratio. Anyways, it turned out the absolute best. I put it in the fridge with the Montreal steak spice, with some garlic powder and some onion powder. Mix it all together, flipped it over in the fridge every day just to keep that marinade going on the goose breasts. I put 6 goose breasts in the bag and let them sit for 3 days. And I took them up to my parents' place for Thanksgiving weekend, where we had a little bit of a game feast. My brother brought up venison tenderloin from a deer he shot last year. And that goose breast, I seared it on the barbecue for 3 minutes aside, not 4, like Todd said, because I just wanted to change it a little bit so that people knew that it was.
Couldn't do Todd's recipe.
No, so we had to do it the almost guy's way. And I put it on for 3 minutes aside, timed to the stopwatch, because that's what we do. And we took it out, put it in a glass Pyrex pan, covered it with the leftover sauce that was in the bag, and then coated one side with barbecue sauce, covered it in a pie plate, or covered it and put it in the oven at what did I do? 375, I think that's the temperature, and I let it cook until it got to 130. And when it got to 130, I flipped it and covered the rest of it with barbecue sauce and cooked it right to 160. And I tell you what, that came out, and it was, like you said, better than the best steak that you've had.
And tender.
And it was, not only was it tender, it had the right, it had the right texture, it had the right amount of smoke in there. Well, because I forgot to tell you, I put the liquid smoke in there too. But
yeah.
And when it came out, I cut it into strips and served it like little medallions with the tenderloin, and it was phenomenal.
And it looks just like roast beef darn near, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It had a little bit of red tinge on the inside, but not red as an undercooked red. It was like a medium rare.
Yeah.
Or actually, it was more medium than rare.
Just like we had here that Friday before we went out hunting, right?
Yeah, but better.
Yeah.
So
it was almost like Todd's, but the almost guy did it, so it was better.
So the one thing that I had was 6 goose breasts. Well, with 5 goose breasts sliced, there was more than enough meat for everybody that was at and around the table. Mm-hmm. So we had one left that was whole, and my dad said, "Don't bother doing anything with that one. We'll eat it for breakfast in the morning." Well, through the auction sales and everything that my dad goes through, he's acquired a meat saw, like a deli meat saw,
like
so
a slicer,
like a ham or something. A slicer, yeah, it's a slicer, so you can set your Texas and do whatever like that. So luckily, this goose breast was one of the ones I shot, so there was no pellets in it. And
well played, Bill. Well played.
Not to sound cocky or arrogant or anything.
No, not to sound cocky or arrogant, but it was probably one of the ones I shot. And he put it on the meat slicer cold in the morning and sliced it into thin, like paper thin slices.
Like charcuterie board type
like
meat.
Shaved.
Charcuterie board. Yeah, it was like the thickness of a piece of roast beef you'd put on a sandwich. That thickness, cold, and it was even better the next morning than it was the night that we had it.
No kidding.
Cut up like that. Yeah. And actually, my dad had some leftovers from that day, so he took it up to the hunt camp and gave it to some of the other partners that are at the camp. Dad's friends, and they said they were raving, absolutely raving over the best thing that they've had for wild goose ever. So
yeah, you got to get it tender. That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's the 4 days of marinating.
It was a win.
4 days.
Well, I had a couple. I had 2. I didn't have 6. I had 2 marinating for 4 days, and as you know, I did the same thing: seared them, roasted them. But it was just me. My wife won't eat anything I bring home. So it was just me. So I couldn't eat 2 whole breasts myself. So I had some left over because she's cooking a roast of pork and other meals through the week. So what I did was I made a goose stew. Now,
oh, yeah.
And I learned a long time ago, if you don't have any gravy, you can make beef gravy, chicken gravy. You take a 1/4 cup of butter and you can put anything in it you want to fry it, like onions, green peppers, mushrooms, or you can leave them out. Well, then after they're kind of sauteed and opaque, then you add a 1/4 cup of flour to the butter and the onions, and you stir that up until it's like a glop in there. The flour soaks up the butter. It's like a glop. Now you take 2 cups of broth and pour that in and just stir and mix, and it thickens into a really nice gravy. No lumps. You'd be shocked, but it no lumps whatsoever.
Are you hearing this, Todd? What gravy should be?
Yeah, and no lumps. Well, so I took the leftover goose, and what you do, you roll it in flour, and then you sear it in a pan, and then in the pan you put the goose in, or the cubes of goose into. I put it into 2 or 3 cups of beef broth, and boil it, and then you can use any vegetables you want. I put in cooked potatoes, cooked carrots, and cooked peas. So I had all them left over from another meal, and simmered that together for a while. Then I took 2 cups, or a cup now, because it wasn't a whole full-fledged big pan of stew, and I didn't want 2 cups of gravy. I just took 1/8 of a cup of butter and fried a little bit of onion in it, and then 1/8 of a cup of flour and mixed that up. And then I took a cup of the broth out of the stew that was simmering, poured it in, and thickened that. Then I put that whole mixture into the already simmering pot of stew. So it didn't come out like a thick gravy. It just kind of thickened up and browned the sauce in the stew. And oh, man, was it good. It was delicious. It was fabulous. That's a really quick goose stew. You can make a beef stew that way too, chicken stew, whatever. But oh man, was it a good stew? So starting out with a marinated goose breasts, and then what you don't eat, make a stew. Oh, awesome!
All right,
finish it up.
Let's get into this.
Yeah. Don't have a hunt.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I've been waiting for this since you halfway told me that there's something to tell me.
I don't want to sound cocky or arrogant or anything, but I found this field, Bill.
Oh, jeez.
Did you?
He
That's
did.
awesome.
But the problem was,
I'm not surprised.
It has rained for days and days and days. So it was a soup hole. So the farmer said, you can't, I don't care if you drive in it, but you can't drive in it because you won't get out of it.
I found 3 fields that morning. One, I was told by the farmer it was already taken. The other field I was told this guy lives 5 towns away that owns it, and I don't have an address or a phone number. I couldn't even find the owner, and I'm getting desperate, and so I'm still driving around. It's Friday morning, and lo and behold, I find a 3rd field. I knock on the door. They direct me to the farmer who's just down the road, and I tell this lady, she says, well, why do you want to know? I said, I want to hunt those geese out there. Hunt them? She says, I didn't think you can hunt Canada geese. Oh, yeah, they're a nuisance. They're, there's an early season and a limit.
And they taste really good.
And they do. The farmers are getting ticked. They're eating off their beans and stuff. And she says, oh, I can understand that. I said, so you don't have a problem if the guy down the road lets me hunt? No, I don't have a problem. I thought, great. So I went down and saw him, and he says, kill them all. In the spring, he says they ate a third of my beans just sprouting up. I lost a third of my beans.
He's got ponds right there that they all nest on, right?
Yeah.
He's got the non-migrating families that are hanging out right there.
So he says,
and then right across the road is a preserved wetland by DU. So there's a lot of geese in the area, a lot of ducks.
Tough farming right around there, I bet.
Yeah, right. So it was so soupy. Yeah, he's like, you just aren't gonna, you ain't gonna drive in.
Or a 4-wheeler or something you can get in the field. I said, well, no, we got a golf cart. He says, oh, it won't go anywhere. It'll just spin, sink. It won't get anywhere. And I'm
not even sure a 4-wheeler would have done it.
Yeah, and I doubt it too. And I know that Todd's got the big, what is it, an
F-250.
F-250 with the big oversized knobbies on it. And we could barely get off the road. In fact, he was afraid he was going to get stuck.
Well, I'm going to tell that. So we get there, and it's early in the morning, and we go, okay, let's check this field out. We get out, and it is a soup hole. But there is a bit of a hedgerow that there's a fence line that divides two fields. One side's got winter wheat. This side's got cut corn. Now, folks, I'm telling you, we always talk. We got 160 plus decoys. We got the trailer. We got like $20,000. This is not one of those hunts because we could not drive in the field. So this is what we're going back. Old school thought process. We're going with what we can carry into the field. So we ain't putting out 160 decoys across the muddy field. So Scotty's with us. I said, well, Scotty, you back it in because you're the quickest backer inner of the truck and trailer, and stay on that hedgerow, and we'll just see. Well, he starts coming down the hedgerow, and even the hedgerow that is like, we got out and we're jumping on, it's pretty solid, and you could see where this field's been plowed. Where it's been plowed, it's a muck, it's soup. But this hedgerow's not been plowed. It's pretty solid, and there's even standing corn that, like, albeit it's toast, right? Like it's all burnt and garbage now, but there's standing corn just like 80 yards down the hedgerow that was still holding the ground solid. You're like, okay, this will be all right. Scotty starts to back in, and I'm watching. I'm like, Scotty, it ain't. He's like, I'm not feeling it either. And then I was a little nervous when he put it. I'd be like, just pull ahead a bit so we make sure that we can get out. Like it's 4:30 in the morning, and we don't want the truck stuck here all day. So he throws it and starts to. Well, once he stomps on it a bit and gets the tires just clogged up with mud. So once he started to roll all 4 tires of my truck and chuck that mud out of the lugs, she bit and pulled forward. So we may have been. We would have dug a bit of ruts, which wouldn't have been nice, but we may have gotten in a bit. But we thought
that's the worst thing you could do to a farmer is
absolutely.
Mess up his field,
and,
right?
and he really didn't care.
Way to not get permission again.
Yeah, right.
Just destroy
and it was a plowed field. Like he really didn't care, and that's what he said. Like if you could drive something, but you'd get anything stuck if you got off this hedgerow. Just even like my truck would have been toast off the hedgerow.
It was plowed sweet corn, and I was shocked they were still in there digging the sweet corn out of the furrows.
So, but yeah, it was a soup hole, but that hedgerow was solid enough. We probably could have, and the rut wasn't like a giant rut because it was still solid ground. You just don't want to take that chance. So we weren't very far off the road at all. Like 10 feet is the front of my truck with the trailer down the hedgerow, just so that the truck was on somewhat solid ground and we could dig in. Like once he hit the gas, it started chucking mud out of the lugs. Well, we were good to go, but didn't want to take the chance and dig bigger ruts and maybe hit a softer spot. Then you're really going to dig a rut. So anyway, we dropped her down and said, okay, what's the game plan? Well, I brought a toboggan and thought, okay, for all of our U.S. listeners, that's a snow sled. Sorry, a toboggan,
it's a Canadian term.
A toboggan. So we didn't have our toques on. It wasn't cold, but we had a toboggan. So, which is a long sled, like a 3-person sled. So, and it was a plastic one. It's not the old school wooden one with the hook front. So I thought, well, we'll just load that up with decoys. And you think when you look at it, man, we get a lot of decoys. You get like 5 decoys. Well,
because they're full body, you can't stack them up like
flip me, and then they fall off as you're going across because the plowed field is not smooth. And so Scotty's loaded up with
handfuls each,
freaking 8 on his arms.
I got 6.
So I'm like, arm. Well, heck, man, like that thing's a waste. But we did use it to put our bags with our shells in it and our guns.
Yeah.
So that's what we used it for. So loaded that up. Take that. Scotty took that in after he took a load of geese. So we all took 6 to 8 decoys. When we were done, we had 40 decoys in there. And I thought, that's all we're using. We're not, because when we're done, we got to clean these up. And that's all I'm thinking about. And then we had to drag the blinds in. And so there was a stipulation that the lady's house that is on the road on the opposite side of this field, we know not to shoot near it, but the farmer said, we'd like you behind that house, just so there's not even the loud booms are resonating that way, even if it's from the side. So we're like, okay, we can respect that. So we had to get in 100 yards or so off the road back in. So we had to drag these blinds 100 yards back and then probably, what, Dad, 100 yards over from the fence row?
Yeah.
So we were in there a ways, and you got in, your boots are all clogged up. Like, you could just imagine, you're soaked, right? But hey, we're goose hunting, man. This is what it's all about. This is waterfowl weather. It was raining while we were doing it. So we get the decoys out, and we thought, okay, which way's the wind going? We got it. You know, geese always land into the wind, so we want the wind at our back.
Perfect.
So we made the circle the way we had to face away from the road. It was perfect. They're going to come over that fence row and drop right into it. Should be great. Put the blinds up. Now, we didn't have a lot to cover the blinds because this is a plowed sweet corn field. So we took the corn that was the dead corn that was left standing over there that was just toast. We grabbed those old stalks and kind of laid them around. And I mean, you could still tell there was blinds there, but
different. How would you even
cover them in mud?
Yeah, as if you just have to pile up like you got a big old rock there with mud.
Yeah. So the blinds are already like a dark corn color, right? Like max 5.
Yeah.
Or max 4, whatever they are. It depends on whatever age they are. But max 4 camo, I think, is what they are. So they're already a dark corn. So if you put corn stalks, are a little bit lighter. And like, we had some old corn stalks from the last hunt left on them, but they almost look lighter with that on it. I was actually where the blind was blank with no stalks or no brush on them. They look better. And that's what I was saying. Let's just
a lot of dark mud showing in the field.
Yeah, throw some mud on them and that'll kind of hide them. So they were okay. I mean, we could have done a lot more work, but by the time we got those 40 decoys put out and it was carried pouring in, we were spent, man. And it was getting cold.
Too, was it?
It was started at 13 degrees Celsius and it was dropping down 11, 12, 11. Then it went down to 10, 9 while it was raining and the wind was picking up, thank goodness. So we were starting to feel it. But yeah, you don't need 160 decoys because this proved it. There was 4 of us. We put out 40. I said, this is just like the old days when we only had
a good
40 decoys.
To 20 feet apart. Left lots of space.
So yeah, we put them probably 10 to 15 yards, right? So 15, 20 feet. We put that much space between them. We put a row in front of us and then our blinds. And then we put a row or 2 behind us, made like a half moon, and the lines still way out there, Bill. The lines for that half moon, single file geese on each side of that half moon went clean out. Oh my gosh. I bet you 70 yards. And
your total number of decoys
was 40.
40 decoys.
40 decoys.
Yeah,
which, I mean, for a weekend warrior that
you got a couple buddies, you could do it. Yep.
Yeah, well, if they can't afford $20,000 for the setup, 40 decoys is not.
And that was still a lot.
You know,
I mean, 40.
Oh yeah, but it sounds good.
Like we used to hunt with 12 and still get limits, but the 40 was nice because it allowed us to hide 4 blinds a little bit better, right? Because you can make that horseshoe or that half moon a lot bigger. Right, to be wider where the blinds are, because the geese don't want to land on that single file line on each end. They want to land where there's the comfort zone in the pocket with the majority of the geese. Yeah. So that 40 allowed us to build it out. And really, we were saying we might have too many decoys for what we want to do because we didn't want to make it too thick and have them land behind us. We wanted them to land in front of us, so we wanted the majority right there with us. Right. And if you go too wide out the back with that much space, they'll land. Some will come in from beside you and land behind you.
Yep. Just land behind you.
And we can't shoot that way because that's where the lady's house is. So that was the concern. And we're going, man, we got it. So that's why the lines on each side of that. And now when you came down 100 with us, we had that horseshoe. It was more of a horseshoe. We had 80 yards between the lines at the end. This was more of a half moon. And I mean, we probably had 100 yards from decoy to decoy, maybe more on the far when they were fully out there. Right. So it was a lot wider of a horseshoe, but that's because the wind was kind of shifting a bit and we didn't know which way they were going to come in totally. So
you had wind though.
Oh, had wind. Oh yeah.
We had a good wind and it didn't drop off. It was good.
Yeah. Made it a little chilly.
It wasn't as good as I wanted it, but it was good, and it was enough that the decoys were rocking back and forth.
Yeah, those avian X were moving on the stilts there, so they were looking good
against the stops. And boy, did that ever help!
So the first flock comes in, and
the first scout come in. We were one single.
Well, you tell that because I don't remember it.
You don't remember? Anyway,
Apparently, I didn't shoot it.
One single came in, and they were late coming, and one single come in, but we didn't leave it for Todd, if you remember the story for last week.
Yeah.
And I don't know who shot it.
We didn't leave it for Todd.
It came
2 weeks ago, by the way, that story was.
Okay, you go from there.
Yeah, somebody shot it. But anyway.
But they were late coming in. It was a miserable morning.
It was late. Yeah, they typically it won't fly first thing when it's raining and windy, right? Like they're hoping it calms down, but so it makes them a bit later. So the flock started coming in. Well, instead of coming right at us where we thought, the wind had shifted a bit and was moving to the right. So they were coming sideways, which I don't mind at all, because when they're coming in sideways, they're not really looking at you as much coming in head on as when they coming in head on. So they were swinging around and coming right down the pipe and me, but they weren't coming right down. I had I think we had 2 rows in front of us. So there was probably a decoy at 15 to 20 yards in front of our blinds. And so when you leave that much space, the thought was they'd land in between the decoys, which they did when you were with us, right? And they'll land right in the decoys because there's so much gap in there between them. They still didn't land between them. They were landing out on that line and kind of landing in between them. But so they were already 20 yards out. Well, when they started to come down, they'd get eye level, and because they were coming sideways, that's when they seen the blinds, and that's when they would start to pick up, and then they could use that wind to get out of dodge fast. They could flare fast and get out of dodge fast. And I mean, it was impressive. So I had to yell, take them a little sooner than wings starting to flap like they're going to land, because they'd come in almost like they were going to land. And then within seconds, they're 80 yards in the air and flying away because they didn't like the blinds once they got close. So I had to yell, take them a little earlier. So once we realized that, we started to make it rain a little bit. We started to knock them down. So we were pounding them pretty good. I mean, we ended up with 12 for the day, and there wasn't a lot going in here anyway, because there's so many fields out there, like Dad said, that the geese are separated out there. So these aren't migratory birds yet because they're not flocked up.
A lot of shooting going on around you.
None. Didn't hear a shot. Well, we did hear shots on the far side of the swamp, I guess, or the DU established wetlands, but not, there was like 1 or 2 for early in the morning, like someone snuck a pond. Maybe where they shouldn't have been. But that's what we said. I don't know if you're supposed to be hunting in there where those shots came from, but wasn't close enough. They put anything up that we could see. Yeah. But there was a couple at first light, but that was it. There was no other hunting. And we watched geese go out and land in other fields.
One drawback when a big bunch came in all at once, and that is aggravating.
Yeah, there was one large. We got some, but I mean, you got 80 circling. You only got 3 shots each, and they're not all coming down.
We decided going in, if you get that in the air where you got 50 or more circling around and breaking up and going every which way, and then all of a sudden there's 5 in your face, and then they don't land, they take off, and you're waiting for the big bunch. We said, okay, the first time we get a few in our face, Todd, call the shot, because that's better than nothing. And
take that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we did. Yep.
Yeah.
We called
lesson learned from many times of letting them circle and then fly away with nothing.
And we had to, on a couple flocks were wary, right? Like they've been shot at now. They've been hunted for a while. They're local birds. They're not migrating. So they've been shot in the area. So there was a couple flocks that maybe we only got 2 or 3 out of, right? When they come down and then they flare so fast and that wind was so strong, they just pick them right up. Whoop, they're gone, out of range. You don't even want to pull the trigger. However, we're sitting with 9 and it's been slow. All of a sudden here comes, and we did screw up one flock. I was standing up and they came out over the trees quick and quiet and using the wind, and it was like, holy crap, and just didn't get in the blind quick enough, and they circled a couple times but not close enough because they seen us moving and they were gone. So that's another thing, keep your butt in the blind. But I can't. I can't. It's just how it is. I love waterfowl.
That's the social part of goose hunting. You can get up and if there's nothing going on, instead of laying there, you get up and talk a little bit. You
just got to be okay with you're going to get burnt every now and then.
Sometimes you get cut.
So, yep. And actually that happened twice. So on this, and I'm the reason, but with a big grin on my face. So we're in the blinds. I'm the far right side. So I'm where they're starting. And then it goes me and then Connor. No, you, me, Dad, Scott, then Connor.
No, Connor, then Scott.
Whatever. So anyway, I just know that I'm on the end. So they're coming past me and they're landing in front of Connor. is where they would land if they were going to land, but they're swinging out over Connor. So Connor's the first to shoot, but I've got to wait until they get to him before I can call it. So I'm in the blind, and this flock comes over the trees. We can hear them. Bark, bark. Okay, they're coming. So everybody get in your blinds. We get in the blinds. We close them up, and sure enough, they come over the trees. They're low. They're going to come. Instead of staying out in front of us and dropping, it's the only flock that's skirted to the right, which is going to be behind us. And it's still looking like they might land, but they're skirting that line that I had out there. Instead of on the inside of the half moon, they're coming down the outside of it. And so this isn't good. And so I said, can I take them? Because if they go behind us, that lady's house, we got nothing.
Yeah,
and they're going to see us and flare.
Let me clarify that part. We were still hoping they would turn and come over the decoys and come in front of us. And it looked like they might have at one point, but then they started flying straight, and it was evident they were coming down. They wanted to land, and they were plenty low enough. But if they did land, they were going to be outside of Todd, outside of that far row. And so he looked over at me because he realized that if he doesn't call the shot, they're going to be behind us. We can't get up in that mud and turn around, and nobody's going to get anything. And if he doesn't take the shot, nobody is. And we can't shoot directly at him or over his head. All three of us, the way our curve was, we'd have been shooting. I'd have shot over him.
Scott Connor definitely would have shot. Oh, yeah.
Scott would have shot over Connor.
Like muzzle blast city.
So we were out of the mix. And Todd realized that. And he looked at me and he says, can I take these? Can I call the shot? And I said, yeah, take them. It's you or nobody.
Yeah,
because you're the only one that's going to get a shot. So I watched him come up. He didn't have to call it. He just came up, and I watched him come up.
How many birds total were in the flock?
I think there were 6.
Yeah, there was 6.
Yeah.
And they were close now. They were close enough to shoot.
They weren't super close. I mean,
but they were close enough to shoot for Todd. But when Todd got
on
up,
the ground 15 yards away.
The one that was leading them kind of flared a little and started to go out and flared into the other.
I picked the third one back.
And so that's when
I came up, and as he's flaring, I'm going, they're moving, they're leaving. They're using that wind. They're out of here. So I picked the third one because he was the last one to flare and the closest for me. I picked him. I came up under his butt, and now I'm swinging kind of to my right and up. Mm-hmm. And I came up his back end, and as soon as I got towards his head, I pulled the trigger, and I just kept that gun moving because I knew when they start to flare and use that wind, they go from 0 to 60 like that. And so you could shoot behind them. While you're pulling the trigger, you aim right at them or just in front a little bit because they're not moving that fast. But when they hook that wind up, as you're pulling the trigger, they automatically go 0 to 60. Boom, they're way in front of your shot. So when you're pulling the trigger, they don't look like they're moving it, but by the time you get it pulled, they're cruising. So I came up behind his butt, brought it across his head, pulled the trigger, kept the gun just swinging, like sweep it out of the air like a skeet target, and just kept that gun moving. Well, when I did that, I seen it crumple, and then my gun jammed. I got one shot because of the mud and everything else the rain, the mud. Like my hands were
no. It's not the mud and everything else.
I was impressed with how clean my gun. I even said that at the beginning, didn't I, Dad? Yeah. That I said you got to be careful now. I clean it. You take your finger off in this thing when you close it. So, it was working, but it was so muddy. Every time I put my hands on my guns, like I'd walk around and I'd jump in the blind, and you'd put a big mud pie like the cows left in your laneway. You'd leave that on the seat of your blind when you got in, right? Like it was that muddy. I mean, it was just clumped all around. Yeah. I was picking mud off the rib of my barrel just because of where it would touch on the blind, and my boots would hit it, and then the gun would rub across that point of the blind and pick it up, and like it was just sticky mud. So I pulled the trigger, and that one I aimed at folded, and then it jammed, and I said, my gun jammed. And Dad says, was it you or Scott?
I said,
did 3 just fall?
Yeah.
And they did in parallel. The one folded up deader than a doornail, and then 2 in front of it. The lead one and the second one just whoop, and they fell behind it. Bunk and bunk. I got a triple with one shot. Nobody else pulled the trigger.
Yeah, and Todd wheeled around and said, "There's 3 down." And he said, "Who else shot?" Nobody, Todd. It was all you. One shot.
One shot, gun jam. I said, Scotty goes, if your gun didn't jam, you could have got 9. I think there was only six or so, but
he had 2 more shots and couldn't use them.
Yeah, my gun jammed. My gun locked open.
Yeah. And so,
wow.
Oh, is he pumping? What? And now he's
3 with 1 shot, Bill. Never happened. I've gotten triples. I've gotten 4 with 3 shots. Right? I've never gotten 3 with 1 shot.
Anyway,
That's
he's
impressive.
bragging and he's going on, and I couldn't help but think, okay, Todd's got his picture on a goose trailer. He's got his picture on the Redneck Country Post. He's got his picture on crests on his clothes. He's got his picture on Facebook.
Not that I'm cocky or anything.
And he's pumped that he's bragging and he's cocky and he's arrogant, but he's never going to get his picture on the cover of the Rolling Stone.
Oh,
and he's never
Lord.
going to buy 5 copies for his mother.
You thought about that since like Saturday. Is that a song on your MP3 player when you walk? Goodness. But yeah, I don't mean to sound cocky or anything, but 3 birds with 1 trigger pull. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty wicked. So more to the story though. And to be honest, like, I know that that's a fluke, right? It just improved cylinder, BBs, 3.5 inch, and kept the gun moving. The one I was on, deader than a doornail, and stray pellets, or me swinging so much because I wasn't thinking swing and kill 3 with 1 shot.
Well,
I mean, that would be
you know
cocky.
what they say, it only takes 1 in the right place.
You got her. Well, with these 2.
Well, that one he was shooting at, he scared it when he jumped up, and it flared right into the other 5. And it came in line with them, and he was leading them out. They were all going to move. A split second later, they'd have put all air between them. But for that split second,
they were all
kind of
But you're taken away from my. He just has to justify it.
The realism to this story that they were probably all
grouped up. They were flaring. Yeah, they were moving. So when I got up, Scotty says, well, that one's not hit very hard. So Scotty's up and he's going after it. Well, he couldn't get 80 yards to it, and it's starting to run and flap wings, and that's the scariest on a cripple, right? So the first one, the one I aimed at, deader than a doornail, not moving in the head, Bill. The second one, it was down, head was kind of swinging, but it was down. The third one, it's up and it's hobbling. And as Scott gets up and goes after it, I'm trying to figure out why my gun's jammed. Scott's going after it. It won't let him close the gap past 80 yards. That's a long distance. And it starts running and flapping its wings, and it starts to get a bit of air. Scotty, shoot, Scotty, let's go. Ba-wham, ba-wham. Well, 80 plus yards. He ain't doing nothing. Well, it couldn't get in the air, thank goodness. It maybe did for maybe 10 feet, came back down, and then starts walking again. So Scotty's got 1 shell left because he didn't take any in his pockets. By now, I've got my gun unjammed, and I'm out going down after it. So Scotty tries to get closer again, still 80 yards, because every time he gets close, it runs and flaps its wings like it's moving that fast. Pulls the trigger again, nothing, still running. So now I'm running after it, trying to close the gap, and its wings are going. I stop, put the gun up, bam, bam. And you know me with geese on the ground. That ain't happening. But I mean, I was still 70, 80 yards, and now I'm like, I'm about to give up, but we can't. Now this thing's halfway across this muddy, plowed, soaking wet field. This is my triple with 1 shot, buddy. You're coming home with me. I said to Scott, what do we do? Do we go back, grab shells, and then run back for it? Now I'm thinking, I don't want to screw any more flocks up while we're out here. I want to get this thing as fast as I can and get back to the blind. I didn't bring any shells. I only had 2. Scotty spent his 3. Screw it. I just started to run, and I'm running as fast as I can. And this freaking mud, I got like snowshoes of mud on my boots, and I'm just clod hopping across this plowed field. It's running, wings flapping. I'll be darned that it finally tires out, gives up, and lays down with its neck way out, stretched out long like it's hiding. Perfect. Oh, thank goodness. But I mean, now I'm 800 yards from the blind. So Scotty's like right with me. So I get up, I put my gun stock on him and grab him and dispatch him real quick. And then as we're out there, this is what I feared. So me and Scott got no shells in our gun. We hit I said, kneel down. So we kneel down and we're 800 yards. I'm thinking it shouldn't bug them that much, but they didn't like something about Dad and Connor in those blinds, and they flared
Your blinds
early.
open?
And no, Connor got up and closed them. So they flared early when they, and I'll be darned, they flew right over me and Scott. And our guns are freaking empty.
You throw your guns at them?
And they circled us twice. Me and Scott circled us twice. Never went back to Dad and Connor in the blinds. And then they flew over to the ponds.
I never leave the blind with a pocket full of shells, but I don't leave the blind much anymore. So trying to get these guys trained to do it. However, Connor's giving me the blow by blow. Okay, Scott's running. He's out of shells. Scott stopped. He's out of breath. Todd's running.
What's Connor doing that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Todd shoots.
Funny as crap.
Todd's out of shells. And nope, now Todd's running. He's turned on the burners. Oh, the goose gave up. They got the goose. Oh, here comes some geese, Todd. Get down. They're too high for us. Oh, they're going over Todd and Scott. Oh, they're out of shells. Oh, they're leaving. And with that was the end of the hunt.
Yeah, and then we had to pack up. My gosh, we had to pack up.
Well, it's an exciting hunt.
And that was the worst hike out ever.
Yeah.
Pulling all that stuff.
Connor, so we had the sled. We just slid it under my blind, and I sat on that sled, my blind on the blue sled, but buried it in the mud underneath me. So then we loaded all 12 geese up on it. Connor put it around his waist, and away he went.
That's when the work begins.
He slugged that sucker, and then he helped Dad a bit in the trailer as me and Scotty were carting geese. And I thought, oh man, he's going to hang out there and leave the rest for me and Scott, and maybe rightfully so, because that big sled of frickin' geese that he carried out was probably more than any of the weight. But we got the blinds we're carrying out, we got the decoys we're carrying out, and then he came back in and grabbed more. Scott says, "Man, Connor's willing to put in the work." I said, "Yes, he is." And I sighed. Thank goodness he came back in and gave us a hand.
You know how we packed the geese in that trailer. And you get a base and you pack to the ceiling and you keep coming forward and pack to the ceiling in order to leave room for the blinds to go in there. Because you got 6 blinds to put in behind the geese. Well, when they only took out 40, the wall fell. So
you restacked
40, and then we had to pull the trailer out, right? You moved it, so everything just shifted.
So the trailer is halfway to the back, full of geese halfway up. So it was a major overhaul for Connor and I to restack, get everything from the front up on top and restack.
Yeah, I was dreading it all the whole day. I was dreading packing up. I was dreading all the geese in the trailer, all the decoys in the trailer, carrying everything out. Like it's a lot of work when you're spoiled, like first world problems, right? When you can normally drive a trailer and unload, drive it in, pick it up.
Would I do it again?
Do you have that?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Do you have that often where you got a truck decoys in, or is
not lately? No, not
because with when I go ice fishing or something, I got a big Pelican sled, and that thing is fantastic. I've carted deer out in the field and everything like that. But if this isn't a problem for you, there's no point investing in something like that. I don't know. That day I would have. If you were a salesman and showed up on the road at 4:30 in the morning with one of them, I might have paid you whatever you wanted. I bet you would have.
When we were leaving, the farmer texted me and he says, "Come on back next Saturday," because we only got Saturdays if we wait for everybody, and even then, sometimes somebody has to work. But he says, "Come on back next Saturday," and I said, "Well, I'll watch the field. If there's numbers going in there, I'll let you know and we'll go in." Well, I was out this morning. And this is Friday morning, and there was 20, 25 in the field. But then it rained all day today. It's raining all night tonight, and it's going to be another mess. And I don't know if it's worth a hunt on Saturday for 25 birds. Geese and that. I don't know. Yeah, I said, do it again. But now I'm thinking, am I going to do it again for maybe 2 or 3 small bunches? I don't know. Well, you had a couple 100 birds going in there. This is Thursday morning, so I'll go out again tomorrow morning and scout around and see. So we might not have a field for Saturday because I got nothing solid yet. Yeah. So, but yeah, listen to last week's podcast and Connor's coming through. He was doing well. Yeah.
That's a good story. I'll be anxious to hear what happens this weekend, even if you don't get to go deer hunting. I bet, or goose hunting. I bet you'll be in the woods. Doing something, getting ready for. We got stands still to move. We gotta get lots of work to do. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we got lots to do, even if we don't get a field. Either that, just if we get a field, we're going to be doing it through the week in the evening, and it's going to take 2 or 3 evenings.
Now, I doubt very much if we're going to be hunting geese the last Saturday before deer opens, because we just heard about a benefit shoot out of our club for a lady who's already been honored for all the work that she's done at clubs and trap shooting. And she lost 2 of her sons, tragically 7 months apart in this year, 2021. And so they're going to have a benefit shoot for her. And so Todd and I are figuring that we'll probably shoot that benefit shoot down there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
She's good people. Class. She's awesome. Yeah, you know her, Bill. I won't mention her name on the podcast here, but
you've met her.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. Well, good luck with whatever you're doing, and we'll chat. It was a good talk tonight, guys.
Agreed. Thanks, Bill.
Yep. Take care, Bill.
Thanks for the stories. All right, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
And that'll do it for this week, folks. For the Redneck Country Podcast, I'm Bill, the Almost Guy Tom.
And I'm Todd. And thanks for listening. And folks, if you want to be part of the podcast, or you want to give us some feedback, or really contact us about anything, feel free to email us at podcast@theredneckcountry.com. Again, that's podcast@theredneckcountry.com. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again next week.